Hello, my name's Aviva, and today I wanted to share with you some books that have that I'll take care of you sick moments in them. So I'm not sure if most people consider this like an actual trope, but I love finding these little moments in books. It's kind of like the one bed trope where it's like it's just a tiny moment, but you always get so excited when it happens. So this is one of those moments that I find in books where I get so excited. It's like one of the person is sick and then the other person comes and helps them out and takes care of them. And it's always so cute. So I have a bunch of recommendations to share with you today that have this little moment somewhere in this book. And sometimes it's like the person is actually sick. Sometimes maybe they just got hurt or they needed help. It's always different in each and every book, but in all of these books, you will find these moments. First up, I have The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. So if you've seen the movie, then you know which moment I'm talking about. She basically is out and about and they're playing paintball, and then she ends up getting a fever and he takes her home and takes care of her while she's like all lucid and everything. And it is so adorable. If you're not familiar with this book, it is also a movie which you can watch, but it's just an enemies to lovers workplace environment book. These two people, they work together in the office and they really don't get along. And then one day they get this opportunity to get a promotion for the other person to end up being the other person's boss. And they really don't want the other person to be their boss because they absolutely hate each other. You know what I mean? So anyway, they're going to start to like really mess with each other, really start fighting and everything like that. And they play this hating game where they're in the office and they just like mess with each other all the time. And it's really fun. It's an enemies to lovers. You can't go wrong. And it definitely has the I'll take care of you sick moment in it. Next, I have Meet You in the Middle by Devin Daniels, which is another enemies to lovers workplace environment book. One is a Republican and one is a Democrat, and they both work for different senators in whatever building the senators work out of. I don't even know because I'm not so into politics, but my point is that basically one of them needs something from the other person's senator. So they set up a meeting and they basically don't hit it off right away. They really don't get along. And after that, they start pulling pranks on each other while at work. And then they slowly start to just like become friends. And then that slowly turns into lovers. And it is a really adorable romance. I'm not even so into politics and I absolutely loved this book. So I highly recommend it. And I can't remember the specific moment that had the I'll take care of you sick moment in it, but I do remember that there was one in this book. So if you're a fan of all of that, then I recommend reading this one. Next, I have Dear Enemy by Kristen Callahan. So this is actually another enemies to lovers book. I didn't do that on purpose. They just all happen to have been at the top of my stack. But this is basically about these people who knew each other as children. This guy dated her sister like their entire childhood. Like they were always like on again, off again, like throughout middle school, high school, that sort of stuff. And then he always never got along with her. So he would always bully her, make fun of her and everything like that. And then basically it's prom night and something goes really wrong. And he ends up breaking up with her sister. And then they all never really talk again. And now it's 10 years later and he starts texting her thinking that her number is her sister's number because basically her sister stole something from him and he wants to get it back. And she's always very protective of her sister, even though she doesn't really like her sister because, her sister takes advantage of her and everything like that. But basically she ends up getting involved and telling him that I'll work off my sister's debt in exchange for the thing that she stole because I can't afford the thing that she stole. So then she ends up working for him a little bit. She's a chef, so she ends up being his personal chef as well as his personal assistant. And they don't really get along in the beginning. They're always bantering, stuff like that. And then it will slowly turn into a lover's scenario. So it was a pretty solid read, but I will say a full disclosure here that I did like Make It Sweet more, which is a book that is taking place in the same world as this. There are minimal overlapping characters, but you don't need to read one to read the other. But in this book, there is that take care of me sick moment. He basically pulls a hamstring at one point and he can't really get himself into the shower, so she has to help him, and it is very, very adorable. Next, I have Voyeur by Fiona Cole, which is a forbidden age gap romance book, and I absolutely loved it. This girl needs tuition money for college, so she ends up working at this sex club called Voyeur, where people can anonymously watch her do sexual things behind a one-way mirror. Like someone requests for her to do something, and then, she'll accept it, and then they watch her, and she doesn't know who's actually watching her. So this guy comes to this sex club regularly, and then starts requesting her often, and gets kind of obsessed with her, really enjoys watching her specifically. And then classes start, and he is a teacher at the college, so he's in class, and then all of a sudden this girl walks into his class, and who do you know it is? The girl that he's been watching at this sex club. So he recognizes her, but she obviously doesn't recognize him, and the story is going to go from there. So there's actually this moment in this book where she's coming back from a frat party and something went kind of wrong there. Like, guys got a little bit, like over the top in the moment, and she's all shaken up, and he happens to see her, and then he kind of takes care of her and calms her down after that, and it was a really adorable moment. Next, I have Enemies by Tijan, which is actually like a whole book based around the I'll take care of you sick moment. It's basically about these two people who were friends as children, and then when puberty hit, they kind of turned into enemies, and now they are both adults, and she is in college and he is a pro football player in the same state that her college is in, and they're away from home. They don't really know anybody in their area, so their parents are kind of like, look, you guys know each other, you should reconnect. Here are each other's phone numbers. And they're both like, look, I don't want to have anything to do with her. I don't want to have anything to do with him. No, thank you. But the thing is that something actually happens in this girl's life, and nobody can get a hold of her, and she really needs to know this information. So he kind of takes it upon himself to go track her down and tell her what happened. And then after that, something else happens, and he's going to take care of her for the rest of the book. And oh my God, this book was so good. I didn't see everything that happened coming, and I absolutely loved this book. And again, there is a lot of I'll take care of you sick moments in this specific book. Next, I have another college sports romance book, which is Only When It's Us by Chloe Lieza. So I hope I'm saying that name right, but if I'm wrong, forgive me. Either way, this is about a girl who was on her soccer team in college, and she's not doing so well in this class. So the professor is like, look, get notes from the person sitting next to you. So she tries to get this guy's attention that's sitting next to her, and he kind of ignores her, and she doesn't realize that he's actually deaf. He can't really hear her or anything, and that's why he's ignoring her. So they kind of start off on bad terms, and then make it even worse, they end up getting paired up for a project in this class. So now they have to work together. So they kind of turn into frenemies, and then, the story is going to go off from there. So this is a slow burn romance, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was solid. It wasn't my favorite, but it was pretty good. And in this book, though, it did have a couple of those I'll take care of you sick moments, which I absolutely love finding. There was this one moment where this guy, because he's deaf, he gets a lot of headaches, and basically she is very familiar with like headaches. So she ended up like giving him this like head massage with all these oils, and it was such a cute moment. And then there was also another moment where like she was really drunk and he takes care of her, and I don't know, there was a lot of cute moments in this book, and if you're into slow burn sports romances, then I recommend checking it out. Next, I have All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. So it's funny because when I think about this book, I specifically think about this one hiking scene where this guy comes all the way to where she was hiking just to take care of her. And oh my God, I think I reread that scene like 1,000 times. I absolutely loved it. And I will say that this is a very slow burn romance, and this is one of her more women's fiction books. Like for the first half of this book, the guy is hardly even in it. But then once he starts showing up more and more, and then you get to the end, like it was so worth the wait. Like the romance will be so amazing, but don't pick this up unless you are down for that slow burn sort of vibes. But anyway, this is about this girl who, she ended up getting out of this really long relationship, and she doesn't really know who she is as, a person without somebody attached to her. So she decides to move to this small town in Colorado where she grew up with her mother to try and find herself, see who she is without a partner. And when she gets there, she rents this apartment from this guy that didn't know that he was renting the apartment to her because his son actually put it up for sale. So when she gets there, he kind of like attacks her and being like, who the hell do you think you are on my property? And she's like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that you didn't know that I was renting this place, So he ends up letting her stay because there's nowhere else to rent. And then, the story's going to go off from there. So it was really cute. This is a grumpy sunshine. Mr. Rhodes is such a grump, and it is so amazing. And if you like those little, oh, I'll take care of you sick moments, then oh my God, you will not be disappointed by this book. Next, I have From Lukov with Love, which is probably my favorite Mariana Zapata book that I've read. I mean, I've only read 5, but this one's definitely my favorite of the 5 that I've read. So this is a figure skating romance. These two people, they never got along. They were always bantering, can't be in a room together without like a screaming match sort of vibe. And then for some reason, they get paired up as partners for, the Olympics or whatever it is that they're going to go and do. And now they have to work together. So there's forced proximity, enemies to lovers vibes. And oh my God, did I love this book. There's so much banter between between the two of them. Like once you get past the 100-page mark, they're always in each other's faces, always hanging out. And even though it's a slow burn, I wasn't bothered by it because we always got to see them interact. And specifically, there was this one scene where this girl got a fever and basically the guy takes care of her. And oh my God, it was so freaking adorable. That scene is literally on repeat in my head constantly. And then one more book that I have by Mariana Zapata is Under Lock. So this is another one that's closer to From Luca with Love in the fact of like, even though it's a slow burn, there's a lot of interactions between the two people. So I wasn't as bothered by it as I was like All Roads Lead Here, where half the time the guy wasn't even in the book sort of vibe. So I really did enjoy this one. It is a motorcycle club romance. This girl's brother is part of a motorcycle club and she needs a job and she's living with her brother. So he basically gets her a job with one of his friends that owns a tattoo shop. So now she's like the receptionist for this guy's tattoo shop and they're always going to be around each other and he's kind of like mean to her, like, you know, he's a grump sort of vibes and whatever. Anyway, they're going to be around each other a lot and then some motorcycle club stuff happens and somebody is now after her. So now he has to like protect her and stuff like that. And there's this moment where she kind of like has a breakdown in the shower and he overhears her and then like, you know, he takes care of her. And oh my God, when I read that scene, literally like heart eyes bulging out of my eye sockets. Next, I have Broken French by Tasha Boyd, which is a single dad billionaire romance with a nanny sort of vibes. I know that people are into all three of those things I just said, so I wanted to point it out. It's basically about this guy who is taking his daughter on a yacht trip in the south of France for like over a month, and he needs somebody to take care of his daughter while he's doing all of his business sort of stuff. So this girl ends up taking this nannying position, and she's going to end up, you know, hanging out with him on the yacht, taking care of his kid, stuff like that. So forced proximity, all that sort of vibes. It's a slow burn. I really enjoyed it, but my point is that there was a sick moment on here where I don't know if she was sick. I forgot what the circumstances was, but basically she was in the shower, she had a breakdown, and then this guy comes and helps her, and oh my God, loved it. So it's driving me nuts because I can't remember what the sick moment was in this book, but I have Cold Hearted Boss, which I'm almost positive the sick moment took place in a shower also, but I totally could be wrong by that. I just remember that there was one of those moments in this book somewhere. So Cold Hearted Boss is about this girl who one night she is at a bar and she ends up kind of stealing this guy's wallet while pretending to like almost have a one-night stand with him. She ends up walking away, doesn't really take his wallet, just like leaves it at the bar, but he thinks that she took his wallet, and now it's like a month later and she is trying to get this job as part of this like construction crew for this new development that's going up in her tiny little town. And who do you know is the head of this like, you know, little project that they're doing? The guy that she stole the wallet from. The thing is like the whole misunderstanding, he doesn't realize that she didn't do it, and when he notices her, he's like, oh my God, perfect timing to get like back at her for what she did. So he ends up hiring her, and then when they get to this development site or whatever, like everybody is staying on site, he ends up making it happen that she stays in his cabin with him, and then the story is going to go off from there. So it sounds a little bit confusing, but it's just like, you know, the build up to the actual story. Most of the book actually takes place on this development site as they are sharing a cabin, and you know, he's starting to mess with her and everything like that. And it was really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed this book way more than I thought I was going to, but my point is that I'm almost positive there was that sick moment thing going on in this book somewhere. I just can't remember exactly what it was that happened. Next, I have two books from a companion series, which is Savage Lover and then Broken Vow. So this is the third and fifth book in the Brutal Birthright series by Sophie Lark, which is a mafia romance companion series. I do recommend reading the entire series, but I wanted to point out these two books specifically because it has one of those moments in it. In Broken Vow, there is a bodyguard sort of romance going on. Like this girl needs protection because someone's after her sort of vibe. So this guy takes care of her, takes her away for a little bit, and there is a nightmare moment in this book, and as well as like a couple of moments in this book, besides for just the nightmare moment that I was thinking of, there are a couple of take care of her moments because he's her bodyguard, and I absolutely love this book. This was actually my favorite from the entire series. Then we also have Savage Lover, which is the third book. It's Nero's book, and it's just a regular romance. Like this guy knew this girl in high school, but they were never really close, and then now, you know, it's like years later, and they bump into each other, and then they end up having a romance, and it's really cute. There's like a heist in this book. There is like, you know, a lot of of like cars in this book because like she's a mechanic and he's very into cars. This one was really fun, and there was this moment where Nero was like all beaten up and she basically takes care of him and like takes care of his bruises and everything like that, and it was so cute. So I highly recommend both of these books if you're looking for those moments, but I also kind of recommend reading the whole series in general because they all kind of build up on each other. Okay, and I couldn't help but recommend the entire Addicted / Calloway Sisters series by Krista and Becca Ritchie. So I'm only holding up book 1, but this is the first book in a 10-book series. If you're curious about it, I'll make sure that I have a how to read the entire series video linked in the description below. But this is one of my favorite series of all time, so I couldn't help but mention it because in this entire series, there are multiple take care of me sick moments between multiple characters. Like specifically Lily and Lo have a scene like this, Daisy and Reich have a couple of scenes like this, Lily and Reich have a scene like this. There are so many take care sick moments in this series, and oh my god, I love this series wholeheartedly. But then you add on those little moments that I absolutely love finding in books, and it just makes it all that more perfect. Can I also quickly mention Exodus by Kate Stewart, which is the middle book in the Ravenhood series. You have to read all 3 books. The first book is Flock, and then the last book is The Finish Line. But specifically in Exodus, there is an I'll take care of her sick moment sort of thing. So I wanted to specifically mention this one because I love this book wholeheartedly. I mean, this book is going to break your heart. It's going to try to mend it, not going to happen until like the end of book 3. You're going to be confused. You're going to be turned on, and oh my god, this series is just amazing. It's definitely not for everybody, and it's hard to explain what it's about because the whole time you're reading it, you are confused with the main character. Like, you and the main character don't find out exactly what's happening all the way until the end of book 3. So it's very hard to explain, but it is a very steamy book. It is a very, like, what do you consider it? It's like a romantic suspense sort of book. And in the second book of the series, there is one of those moments that literally heart eyes bulging out of my eye sockets. Again, I love this book, love the series, highly recommend it. And if you want to know more about it, then I recommend watching my reading vlog on it. I'll have it linked in the description below. And the last books that I'm going to share with you is actually the second and third book from the All Saints High companion series. So Broken Night and then Angry God. This one is a childhood best friends to lovers romance, and then this one is an enemies to lovers romance. So I loved this book. This was my favorite from the companion series. If you want to know more about this series in general and stuff like that, I'll make sure to have my reading vlog for it linked in the description below because I did do a whole reading vlog on all 3 books from this series. But specifically in these 2 books, you do find that I'll take care of her sick moment stuff. In this one, the guy needed stitches at one point, and then the girl does it for him, even though they're like enemies at the time and they're not really getting along, and it was really cute. And then in this one, I can't remember specifically what happened, but I know for sure that it did happen in this book. And I just love finding those scenes in these books, so I couldn't help but mention these. But yeah, look it up further in my reading vlog if you want to know more about these books. But anyway, that's all I have to share with you. I know that I had a lot of recommendations to share for this video, but I love this trope and I didn't really want to cut anything out because I just love giving you guys recommendations, and this is one of my favorite tropes / things to find in books. So I couldn't help but mention all of the ones that I was able to remember it happened in the book specifically. But anyway, if you have any recommendations for me with the I'll take care of her sick moment that I didn't mention in this video, please leave a comment down below because I'm always looking for good recommendations, especially with this trope / scene in it. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, if you got any good recommendations from it, then please give it a thumbs up. If you're not currently subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. And anyway, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, enjoy reading.